If you find that your hip is frozen in certain positions and you can't seem to get much range of motion, I'm going to share a tip from a viewer that's going to help you with your frozen hip. A viewer named Paul wrote in to tell me that he used this strategy to unfreeze his frozen hip over the course of a year, and he wanted other people to hear about it too. So I'm going to share it in this video, and I'm also going to share some ways you can turbocharge and speed up the results you might get from this technique. And at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you Paul's real age because it'll probably blow your mind and it'll inspire you to get up off your butt and get your hips moving. So if you're ready, let's get ready to think right, move right, and feel right. So Paul was watching one of my interviews with Dr. Garrett, a physical therapist who has been unlocking his hips over many long, torturous years, and he's been experimenting with a lot of different ways to get his hips moving. So Paul wanted to share his insight. He says, I just viewed your interview with a person who worked for a long time with trial and error for hip impingement, and his experiences mirrored my own. I thought the technique I fell upon, nothing original, might be helpful to some people. All right, I'm gonna need to demonstrate this. Whew. My right leg was more or less frozen. While lying on my back with my legs tented up or even extended, I could not move my right leg to the left or right by more than a few inches. So basically, he couldn't move this out like this or in like this. My technique, I would move my leg a few inches to the left and right within its restricted range of motion hundreds of times by the count each day for well over a year. Slowly, very slowly, my range of motion increased and pain lessened. So the idea here is he said, hey, I've got this much range of motion, it's not much, but I'm just gonna keep going back and forth to the ends of my range of motion hundreds of times a day, and hopefully my muscles will learn to allow for more range of motion. And that's exactly what happened. Now, this is a reasonable technique. It does work, as Paul has explained, but there are some ways you can make this go a little bit faster that you can try at home. So before I walk you through these 3 strategies that'll help you get faster results out of Paul's persistent strategy, I want to say, Paul, awesome work being so persistent, and we can all take a lesson from Paul, and you will take the lesson once I tell you his age at the end of this video. And after I show you these 3 strategies, I'm also going to show you how you can use them for things like your hip flexors or your glutes. The first strategy is to use static holds at end range. So let's say you are like Paul here, and then you're going to get to this end range. You don't want to just go there and then leave right away. It can be really helpful to stay there. A static hold can allow your muscles time to figure out what they're supposed to do at this position so that they might be able to say, oh, loosen up and give you a little more range. So a static hold, probably around 30 seconds, maybe a minute, maybe longer if it feels safe and doable for you. The thing I want to stress is don't go too hard too fast. So if you were here and you're like, oh, I'm going to stay here for 10 minutes, you might find it really difficult to return to the start position because as your muscles get used to this lengthened position, they are going to be stretching and lengthening, and over time, it's gonna start feeling awful trying to come back. That's why when you first start off any stretching routine, you don't want to hold your stretches for 10 minutes at a time. You want to gradually get your muscles used to new positions, otherwise it is way too much of a shock. Static holds can also be used to build strength in a shortened position. So if we were using Paul's strategy to go into this position, it might feel like he's having to use muscles to adduct, meaning pull in towards the midline. And it would be a great idea to hold this adducted position. So we're using those inner thigh muscles to hold that position for, 5, 10, 20, maybe 30 seconds, and then go to that neutral position, right? So if Paul is really restricted, maybe he was only getting to here, and it takes some work. So he's just gonna stay there, hold that, use those muscles, and then come back. And then maybe go out to wherever he can get here and hold that position and feel that stretch. Or he could think about contracting these muscles that pull out here and holding that contraction. So these types of static holds can really help you build your range by contracting the muscle on the closing angle, which is a concept I've talked about in another video on how to stretch properly, which I'll link to in the description box. But basically, this is the closing angle. You're using those muscles, firing them, getting them used to working, and then relax. Over here, I can use these closing angle muscles, firing, and then relax. Or I can just do a static hold where I'm just letting these muscles relax. Okay, so that's strategy number one. Strategy number two is going to require you to do something. First, you need to hit the subscribe button and the like button on this video. And second, you need to adjust your position to target obviously weak areas. So when we're talking about being able to abduct the way Paul was saying he couldn't, we can think about, well, those muscles on the closing angle are probably weak. They're not able to pull the femur into the angle we want it to. So what happens if I then roll on my side and then have the force of gravity working on the thigh bone so that now I'm really focusing work on these muscles? If I hold this using that first strategy of static holds, or even do repetitions, is that going to help me build this muscle, build control? The answer is yes. So if there's a position you're trying to achieve with your leg bone, you're going to want to think about where the opening angle and the closing angle are, and then you're going to want to use the muscles that help you close down. So if I'm here, I'm Paul, I can't get this leg to go out to the side much, then I can change my body position to try to strengthen the muscles that close the angle. So I can turn on my side like this, and then I can try to lift my leg up. I can do it like this, or I could let my foot come up as well. Whatever I want to do, I'm still going to be working these muscles on the top hip, right? So gravity is pushing my leg down, I'm lifting my leg up. That means these muscles have to work. And if I hold some of these top positions, I'm going to feel some burn there. If I go through repetitions, nice and slow and controlled, I'm going to start to feel some burn there. All of these little adjustments are going to help me strengthen those muscles so that when I then turn back to that original test position, I'm going to notice like, oh, hey, it's almost like these muscles know what to do and know how to stabilize that hip joint as my leg goes out to the side. But we're not done yet. There's a third strategy, and that's to add resistance so that we can strengthen some of these muscles. So let's say I'm lying on my side. I want to strengthen these outer hip muscles. Well, I can use weight on top of the leg to add resistance so that these muscles have to work harder. And when they work harder, your brain is talking to them more loudly. These muscles are learning to contract better, and you're going to get better control of different positions. You could use rubber bands and put them up and around your thigh, or even here around your shin. Whatever works to create extra resistance to what these muscles are doing is a good thing. Now, I haven't mentioned what you could do for the inner thighs because that is a part of this equation, right? If Paul's trying to bring his knee in, he still needs to be able to strengthen these. Well, what can you do there? Is there no possible way? Of course there's a possible way, and that's why we're here on this channel. So if I want to strengthen the muscles on the inner thigh, I just gotta find a different position that's gonna challenge them. So I could just lie on my side here and try to lift up like that. Is that the same motion? It's pretty darn similar. I'm using the inner thigh muscles to pull the knee in towards the midline, right? How would I add resistance? Well, I can't use the band really in this position, but I can easily just put some weight right there on my knee. And I could play around by doing different things with my upper body. I can let my pelvis come in more. I could let my pelvis roll out so it's facing up more. I could put my foot up on a block. I could do all kinds of adjustments to try to change up the angles that challenge the muscles of the inner thighs. And now let me show you how this might work for your hip flexors. So let's say you notice that you find it really hard to get hip flexion, like you just can't lift that knee up. Well, one thing you could do is think about the muscles that create hip flexion and think about strengthening them. So you could start with our static hold strategy first and just get as far as you can go and hold that position for long enough to feel some fatigue in the muscles that produce the motion. Our second strategy could be changing the body position to help us train those muscles a little bit better. One way to change it might be to lean back to potentially make it a little easier for us to get a little more range, and then hold that position for longer periods of time in deeper hip flexion. Or we can add resistance by putting an ankle weight or some other weight on top of the thigh, even though it's called an ankle weight, or even if you're using a dumbbell, it's still okay to use that resistance on top of your body in non-conventional ways. So you can lean back, change that position, and then try to fight against that resistance, keep lifting, and think about the physics here. If I go too far, it's no longer resisting. So maybe I can lean forward a little bit and feel those hip flexors burn so much I can't keep talking to the camera. But seriously, you could do static holds, you can do repetitions. You just want to keep trying to get that full range of motion. Of course, it's not just about your hip flexors. When you're talking about hip flexion, you might also need to do things like strengthen and lengthen your glutes and your hamstrings, right? Because if your hamstrings and glutes are so tight that you can barely touch your kneecaps, you might need to do some lengthening and strengthening at that lengthened position. Because remember, we want to have strength at every length. And if that concept doesn't make any sense to you, please watch my video on how to stretch properly. Like I said, it's going to be linked in the description box. You can use these three strategies to improve your hip mobility and improve flexibility all over your body. You can use these literally anywhere in the human body. The principles remain the same. You just want to be careful, you want to be mindful, and pay attention to how your body reacts to each exercise you give it. And if you haven't spent a bunch of time studying anatomy and you don't know what muscles are where, it's okay. Just remember to think about opening and closing angles. So anytime you're trying to achieve a position and it feels like, ugh, that's not good, look for the position that needs to close and look for the position that needs to open. For example, if I'm trying to do a pigeon stretch and I'm getting stuck here, the closing angle is right here, I might need to strengthen some of these guys, really teach them to pull so that my upper body can pull in towards the thigh and the thigh can pull towards the upper body. That means I'm going to be using some muscles here. I'm going to be using deep hip flexors. My abs need to contract to control my spine. My spinal extensors need to work. From this side, you'll see as I'm coming down, you can see this angle is getting bigger, this angle is getting smaller. So I'd want to make sure that I have the strength to control the position on this closing angle to kind of pull me in. And also I'd want to think about these muscles back here being able to lengthen and be strong in that lengthened position. So that means I'd be practicing using contractions, trying to load into those muscles, trying to use these muscles to pull me in, but going gradually and safely, and maybe going into some regressions where I'm just sitting here and practicing pulling in and then practicing pushing down. All of those things would help my muscles learn how to move the thigh bone, which means my hip joint is going to feel a whole lot better. And if you're looking for a practical program to help you rebuild your hips at home, go to uprighthealth.com/DIY and check out the Healthy Hips program. It will help you rebuild your hips at home. And now, are you ready to find out how old Paul is? Well, he's ready to tell you. He says, I am 80 years old and still using this technique to increase my mobility and reduce pain. Paul, thank you very much for sharing this tip and giving me the opportunity to riff on it to help other people with their hip pain. Your wisdom, your experience helps others, and your age, your persistence, and your willingness to work to improve your body are an inspiration to both me and everybody else out there. So thanks for taking the time to write in. Let me know how these strategies feel for you by dropping me a comment down below. Like, share, and subscribe. Check out these videos right here. And as always, I hope you remember that pain sucks. Life shouldn't.